Gen Con 2023 is over, and Paizo gave all their presentations and all their commentary. And we have a whole bunch of new stuff to think about, new things to look forward to, and maybe even to some people, new things to deal with. But I don't see any of it necessarily as a bad thing. That's just my opinion, and going to kind of discuss that here. But with all that being said, my name is Don. I'm trying to be the Sly Strategist, and let's go ahead and get into it. So a bunch of stuff came to light during Gen Con 2023. There was never like a moment where you were thinking, oh, it wasn't that many spoilers or we really didn't get anything new. Oh no, we got tons. And we can start out just with the stuff from the very, very beginning keynote. First of all, for organized play, all of those Pathfinder and Starfinder scenarios are going to be coming to Foundry, which if you're like me who plays a lot of their tabletop role playing virtually, is just amazing. It's going to really open up organized play for players like myself. Rage of Elements is finally fully out. Kineticist is out. We learned so much during that Rage of Elements panel and kind of the thought process behind things. There are many more changes that we were able to see just from Rage of Elements simply because of how it reflects the remaster and the remaster rules. And so we got a little glimpse into what changes you might have to make in order to play current stuff under the new remaster rules. So that was really exciting. And I do believe I'm going to be doing quite a few Rage of Elements things coming up simply because that is one of the books that is safe for the remaster. So I'm going to be doing a lot of things out of Rage of Elements coming up. Then we got news of a secret book and a secret playtest that is coming out that will start basically September 1st and is going to run through October 3rd. One of the core deities is going to die in this adventure, and also it'll feature 2 new classes with new iconics, and they are classes that have not appeared in the world of Golarion before. Super exciting news for that. Stuff that we can really, really look forward to. And then there's kind of what is, for me, the big spoiler, one of the big benefits. And as we're going to get to when we get towards the other section, there's a little bit of hesitancy there too. But Starfinder is going to be in 2025 totally compatible with Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remaster, meaning there's going to be so much cross ideas, cross ancestries, cross classes. There are going to be things that you can do. You can do storylines where players from modern day Golarion, or maybe not modern day, but current age Golarion, go into the future for Starfinder things, or have Starfinder classes, creatures come into the past of Golarion and do adventures there. There will be different rules, different things, just more options for all of us to play. So I'm super thrilled on that. And you can see a little bit on that right now on starfinderplaytest.com with the first field test things, the soldier class from 1 through 5, as well as some items, some feats, and we can kind of get a taste. Now, they did mention that it is, once again, a field test. It's their first release. They're going to be talking about more things on the forums and message boards as we get closer and closer, and there'll be more field tests. But there are some things that you can use right now, and I am very much looking forward to Laser Wolves. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Really looking forward to Laser Wolves. Now let's go into the player core, which was Leshies and Orcs are coming out and into the main player core book. So I am normally a halfling gnome goblin type guy. I like playing those kind of ancestries, but I'm really looking forward to Leshies. And, I might give Orc a try as well. We'll see. I am going to be doing a Kitsune pretty soon. So it will be nice to see these new ancestries come in. Does that mean that the old ancestries that are currently there are going away? No, not at all. You can still use them, but we will see them remastered in Player Core 2. All the changes to the classes, I, for one, love each and every single one of them. Love it, love it, love it. I don't have really a bad thing to say about it. When we get to the wizard, I'll talk about that a little bit, but I don't see a bad thing about it. Once again, this is my opinion, and I do respect other opinions, even if I don't necessarily agree with it. But let's go ahead and start with the cleric. So the fact that the cleric Cloistered or War Priest is changing from a charisma based font to just getting 4 harm or heals. It's just going to make playing a cleric so much easier. Right now, I have a cleric who is pretty good. I quite enjoy playing that cleric. Dumb as a post, though, because intelligence was not a stat I could invest in and has almost no skills. So it is great that future clerics might not have that limitation. So really looking forward to that. The War Priest is War Priestier. It can actually go to the front lines now. It scales a little bit better as far as its weapons and armor proficiency. I don't see anything bad about how they updated the War Priest. I really do like the changes to the Witch. I like the fact that it is being more focused on the patron and the familiar. And you might think, well, that's kind of what witches were about before. They're familiar and their patron. But as mentioned in the conversation, is familiars could be made better than a witch's familiar just by taking some advanced archetypes. However, now the witch's familiar is a very unique class. It gives the witch its own niche, and the patrons are much more forward in play. So the witch is not just another spellcaster. The witch is a very unique element in and of itself. Then we'll get into wizards. So against some of the criticisms, and I do understand the criticism. I'm not saying I don't get how some people don't like it. However, for me, I think of it as better for the stories, if not the mechanics. And I'm more of a story guy than a mechanic guy. So I like the changes to spell schools. I liked the fact that your spell school could be a literal school and how that can tie into your background and how you could have future allies or future enemies that might have went to the same school during your time frame. Maybe it was the guy that beat you out for prom king, or who knows, that could be the villain of this particular story, or it could become your best friend, someone that you knew in the past. It also has maybe the legacy type thing where, oh, you went to the Harvard School of Illusion? Well, I went there too. What do you say we go ahead and do this together? Or how about I give you a discount on that? There are just elements to story that work a little bit better with this type of spell school, as well as it kind of makes a little bit of sense, once again, story wise, that certain schools might key in on a certain type. Let's say if you had an equivalent of a wizard tournament that you see in any anime in the whole entire world where you have different schools going against each other, it would make sense that certain schools kind of key in on a certain aspect, or they have a very specific thing they go for. And this feeds into that type of narrative. And I really like that type of narrative. Now, mechanically, I also don't necessarily see it as a debuff or a nerf like some people are saying, because to me, it actually expands the options that a wizard can use. But I do understand the argument on how you might be losing a spell or how you might be changing the focus. And then there's the whole Rune Lord thing, which I don't know the answer to. But I just really like the new layout of the new spell schools, and it plays to the way that I like to play the game. So that would be why I really like the changes to the wizard. So what else? Changes to skills. We didn't get too much. The athletics with the reposition, I like that, but it wasn't necessarily earth-shattering to me specifically. I do like how the items are laid out, but I like treasure vaults a lot. So since it's kind of patterned after treasure vaults, it makes perfect sense to me. For spells, the ones that they brought up specifically that I liked, which is the Cleanse Affliction and the Clear Mind, it does kind of come across as a game breaker to me specifically because, once again, I do play a cleric in one of my games. And having the feeling that you have a player that in another TTRPG, you might be able to help, but you can't because you didn't pick a specific version of a spell in order to assist that person. But now you have Cleanse Affliction and Clear Mind to deal with various conditions. makes you feel more useful and makes it feel like you're playing less of a spell roulette on which spells you picked for the day. So I really do enjoy those changes. And then runic weapon and runic body spells being able to scale makes them less of a beginner spell and something that you can continue to have as you go up through your levels with whatever magical character you're playing. Then we can go to the new character sheet. I wanted to see a new character sheet before we even got into these particular discussions. And I like the fact of how much cleaner it is, how much clearer it is. I did like the D&D 5e character sheets a little bit better than the Pathfinder character sheets. They weren't as contrasty as I would like them to be, and so on and so forth. It wasn't that they were the better, but these make them clearer and a little bit more open, a little bit less cramped than they were before, but also give you all the pertinent information. I do like the use of icons. It does kind of help see at a glance, once you're aware of what the icons mean, see at a glance where things are on the page. So I do like that. Then we can go ahead and go into GM Core. GM Core, looking at the new table of contents, I like how it's laid out. It makes sense. It was a thing where I wouldn't even use the physical books when I was doing or looking up any GM information. I would just have the PDFs open because it's just easier to look at the PDFs. But now that there is a clear order to game mastery things with a single book, will make it a lot easier to use that book. And even if you're going to use the PDF, it still makes it easier to use the PDF because you would know a little bit more where you are and where things are located. I like the idea of the changes they made to the chases. I hope it also transfers to infiltrations. Infiltrations to me were chases with extra steps, kind of like chases on steroids. So I do hope that change to math in chases follows through to infiltrations. And I'm going to assume that anything that is touched by the victory point system, because that's kind of where a lot of that comes in, I assume that the changes might apply to the victory point system as well, but I don't know. And then I also really hope they don't change duels because I like how they are portrayed right now. If they do, they do, and that's fine. And I'll do some more material on that with what the changes are. However, I personally like how duels are done now. And then we get to some of the other stuff that came up, and that would be the true teasers more than spoilers, which was Monster Core and Player Core 2. I'm very interested in the new Frogkin type, the trip keys. I don't know how to spell that. I don't even know if that's technically how it's pronounced, but that's what I heard. And their breakdown should be very interesting. I wonder if it's going to be frog versus toad, or if it's going to be moist environment, but there are desert frogs and desert toads. So I'm interested to see how they deal with that ancestry and kind of how they're built, what their abilities are, what they're good at, what they're not good at. That is what I'm very interested in seeing. So with all that good stuff, let's talk about maybe some of the bad stuff. And I'm going to be honest with you, give you a little spoiler. I really don't have any, but that is my own personal opinion. But let's get into it anyways. I can really only think of 3 bad things about some of the stuff we got this time. So first of all, I will say, and this is almost a combination, but because of the new rules, because of the new alignment changes, specifically alignment is one of the big things, as well as there are a couple other things like the open trait for fighters, but not so much for that because then you can just sudden charge later, which is actually great. But there were some other changes, chases, infiltrations, things like that. If you do a lot of homebrew or like to add these things in, that they are going to make some changes. And I can see a situation where you are going to have, well, which version of this are we playing in this game? If you started your campaign today and then the books come out in November. So in November, do you switch to remaster? Do you continue playing in the 2E rules? Do you pick and choose which ones do you like? Do you wait as a GM for one of your players to come up to you and say, hey, could we go ahead and maybe have my cleric not use charisma anymore? And then could I just reallocate all their points? What do you do in that particular case. Or if you're a player and you would like to do something from the remaster, do you go to the GM and just say, hey, could you do this for me? So I can see where for a period of time there are going to be layers or stages of compliance with remaster. I would kind of think that as we get further and further, as new books come out, as new adventure paths come out, more and more people are going to be moving to remaster. But I can see, a year or two where you're going to be signing up for a game, especially if you play online with people you don't necessarily know who, personally know. It'll be, well, what kind of version are we playing of the remaster? Are we going full remaster? Are we going part remaster? So there's that. Expanding into the medium-term future, so we'll say 2025, when Starfinder comes out and comes into Pathfinder, it is kind of going to be the remaster layer, or what version of the remaster are we doing? Maybe on steroids, because there is now a whole other set of things coming into Pathfinder that I'm super excited for, but you're going to have to state, in your session 0, well, you can play this, and this ancestry from Starfinder, but this, and this one, you can't. Or, well, I'm not going to allow you to bring that class in, but maybe this class would give you the same flavor, or maybe we can take this Pathfinder class and maybe allow you to take, let's say, 2 second-level feats from this particular class and see if you can't make that work. So I am super happy for more options, and I'm all in for more options. But can I see some players being like, well, that's a lot of confusion. It's Pathfinder's already really rules heavy, and now we just have a whole nother set of books to go through. I don't particularly look at it that way, but I can 100% see that argument. And then there is the third thing that I can say, and it is the truth, and that is the information is going to be available on Archives of Nethys for free. I'm assuming that a lot of it's going to be on there for free, and you can use that. But if you are like me, you like having the books, you like having the PDFs. The God's honest truth, I'm going to buy them, both in PDF and the hardcover, and I will happily buy them. For me specifically, just all cards on the table here, for me specifically, the fact that there's a new rule set and I'm kind of a rules-based YouTube channel, this is 2 more years of content for me. So I'm super thrilled with this as a channel person. But because I like the rules so much as a player, I'm still super thrilled for it. But can I see people not wanting to buy the book? Yes. Could I see people not wanting to do the PDF? I sure can. Could I see people kind of upset that, oh, well, we're at the table and all of a sudden this one guy, he wants to change his priest to be something totally different. Oh, that's going to be such a bother. I can see that happening. I'm not going to feel that way. But if I ask a question, the guy next to me goes, oh, I can't believe we're doing this. Maybe I get that argument. I still want to do what I want to do, I guess. And it's the GM who makes the ultimate decision. And I'm not going to try to do anything that's going to disadvantage anybody else at the table, or to make the game harder for them to play, or to waste anybody's time. Matter of fact, most of these conversations would probably happen in a back channel somewhere, or on a private channel between the GM and myself. However, I can see people thinking this as being part of the problem, or being part of a problem. But the truth is, I don't see any of those being a problem. So I personally am thrilled for all of these, but I do want to make it known that I do understand the argument, or the complaints, or the reasons people might not like the remaster at this point in time. I don't personally agree with them, or I don't personally stand by those things, but I do get the argument. Now, all that being said, we saw so much new stuff this weekend, even with fewer panels. I would say the information drop, probably the Starfinder thing alone, possibly made up for the lack of panels, or the less number of panels than we had at PaizoCon. Of course, this wasn't a con that was dedicated to Paizo either. So, there's that. But I do hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, or hit that notification bell. And if you agree with me, cool. And if you disagree with me, I totally support your ability and your reason and your argument to disagree with me. And you can throw it in the comments, or you could tell other people that you don't, like my opinion, which is totally fine, totally valid, and I'm totally cool with that. But regardless of what your opinion might be of it, or how much you might agree with mine, I do hope you have a great day. And I do hope you have some happy adventuring. So thank you very much for watching. Bye.